Hi, this is Billy D. If you enjoy this podcast, please like and subscribe. Let's grow NAI basketball. Thank you. Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAI basketball one podcast at a time.
Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I'm still over here at Multnomah University. I have Quinn Curry with me. He's lead assistant over here this season under Teo Jim. The reason I wanted to talk to Quinn, he's been with the program. He played. He started here in 2017, and then you did some basketball operations stuff for a while, and you've been assisting. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of been the continuous face of this program now for several years. First thing I want to ask you about before we talk about the team that's here today is tell everybody what it was like to play basketball with Justin Martin, one of the top scorers in NAI history.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a unique circumstance, with, really high usage, but also really high efficiency.
Right.
He was a player that was underwhelming in terms of size, a player that you'd look at and not expect, all these points and accolades and things like that. But what stood out the most to me about Justin was him as a teammate. I was a player who played a similar position to him, being a shooter, guard in a program like Multnomah that shot a lot of threes. And he was consistently coaching me up, a guy who was technically not much, but competing for his role.
Right.
And he was consistently coaching me up, helping me in the gym, getting up shots. We were roommates for a year as well. And he was a guy who lived in the gym, but also he was a dude who cared a lot about winning as well, and his relationships with his teammates and things like that. Because, obviously a guy who's going to shoot a lot and score a lot, maybe there'd be some adversarial relationships with his teammates. And he'd worked really hard for that not to be the case, right? It was a situation where me as a guy who was somewhat competing, I was really happy for his success. And he was happy for my success as well. Me and him still stay in contact regularly. He watches our games all the time. And, we stay in contact and talk hoops. But more than all the points and everything, he was just overall a really great teammate.
You and I were talking just before I turned the camera on about the Warner Pacific game here. The years run together. I think it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a tight game. The headline coming out of the game was Justin Martin scored 71 points. That was the headline coming out of the game. But it was one of the most competitive games I've ever watched, and it was a back and forth game. It ended up going to overtime, and then fittingly, Justin Martin got to the hoop at the buzzer and hit a floater. For sure. Won the game. I think it was 125 to 124. I might be off a point or two, but it was pretty good. Talk about that game.
Yeah, for sure. It was a game where, I was sitting on the bench and all of us on the bench were like, kind of keeping mental tallies of like, dude, what is going on? And I remember going to halftime and Coach Bickley telling us like, Justin has like 37 or so.
Yeah, 38, I think at halftime.
We can't really bet on that happening again. Like we got to pick up, the teammates and everything like that. And of course he goes out and does it again. Right. And, I remember towards the end of the game, just having just the utmost confidence, like, oh yeah, he's going to hit this shot. Like we don't have to worry about it. Like we're going to win this game. And towards the end of the game, you can kind of feel the hair on your arms start to stand up. And it was just one of the moments that, everybody on that team, like, we'll remember forever. Just like one of the best games any of us have ever witnessed in person. And all of it coming from a 5'7" guard, right? And somebody who, although he scored a lot, he still was efficient. He was like 15 for 19, I think, from three.
Yeah.
And the energy in that locker room after the game was incredible. It's something I'll remember forever, for sure.
It was just a random thing. My friend and I came out, it was like a Tuesday night, and let's just go watch this game. And it was like, wow. Anyway, so you're, the same thing I talked to Teo about last few years, or since you've come in the conference. Multnomah's had some good teams. We just talked about that. But you struggled getting into that top half of the Cascade Conference. It's a tough conference, super competitive. But you got a lot of transfers coming in. What will be different this season?
I think, one of the main things that we are trying to improve in, and I'm sure Teo talks similarly, is the idea of competitive stamina. It's, having that grit and competitiveness to be able to compete for a full 40 minutes, a full weekend, back-to-back games, and then a whole season, right? There's teams in our conference that can maintain that level of competitiveness all the way through the national tournament and winning national championships, right? And I think we've put together good games and good weekends, but it's all about putting together a full season and being able to stay competitive through start to finish, right?
Yeah, it's a long season.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But, I think we have the talent and we have the right DNA in our guys who are able to compete at a high level. So
you've brought a ton of talent in. Do you think they have a sense of what it's going to be like? It's a gauntlet.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we have some NAIA transfers from other schools who have a loose idea of what our conference might be like. Some of them have played teams from our conference before, but none of them have played a back-to-back schedule like us. And then also a lot of them aren't from the area. We got guys from all over the country. And I think, a lot of them aren't familiar with the teams in our conference. But that's our job as coaches to, make sure they're prepared and ready to go. And all throughout workouts, we talk about teams that, we've faced in the past, and we show them film of what the gyms will look like and things like that, and try to prepare them pretty well.
Do you have audio of the students at Eastern?
Yeah, loosely. Yeah. At Eastern, OIT, like all those gyms where, the fans get really into it. So we've also showed them footage of, what it's like when you have a successful team here as well with Justin. Those stands can fill up. So I think they're excited, but they also know, like, although we have good talent on paper, we got to put it together, because a lot of teams in our conference have talent.
The conference is going to be better this year as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Overall, from obviously College of Idaho was their national champion.
Right.
But the conference overall was down a little bit last year, and it'll be back. I talked to Teo about this, but with all the talent you're bringing in, it's super tough, really, really hard to blend that much talent and that many new guys. How do you see that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it starts in the recruiting process, right? Being upfront with everybody that, on your past teams, you might have been the guy. You're coming here to be one of the guys, right?
Okay, yeah.
And, finding guys who fit that type of culture, right? Guys who are willing to create for others and not just for themselves. And I think, in the recruiting process, we found a lot of the right guys who, yes, care about their own success, but more than that, care about each other's success. And I think, we have a good blend of guys who can create, but also score and defend and things like that as well, to where I think overall as a team, we've invested a lot in our relationships, because when it comes onto the court, you're going to have to sacrifice a bit. And it's a lot easier to sacrifice for people that you're friends with, as opposed to, just throwing a group of guys together and expecting them to share the ball. So we've invested a lot in relationships and spending time off the court, in the classroom and study hall. We've, had a camp, towards the beginning of the school year, where we went to a camp and invested in relationships off campus and, showed guys the Pacific Northwest and things like that. So, I think it all starts with our relationships, for sure.
You've got a core that is here, Amande, and then you got Tyrese Taylor and Neelan Block.
Yeah.
Tyrese and Nealand, I think, have an opportunity to have a really good year. Talk about those two. They're great athletes.
For sure. I'll start with Tyrese. Obviously, he's like a dominating force. He's super strong, athletic. He has a nice mid-range game. He started stepping out and shooting the three last year pretty well. But we're really excited to see him, dominate the glass and do all the little things for our team, right? In the past, we've had a team where he might have to carry a lot of the load, right? Average 17 and a half and 10. We're looking forward to him, not having to carry the whole load and be able to support him in other areas to where he can elevate his game without having to work so hard, if that makes sense. And, Nealand as well, he's a player that, I consider to be really underrated in the country. He's a bigger guard who rebounds really well, but he also makes really good decisions. He's a player that last year we kind of needed him to score a bit more to help facilitate the offense, but he's a player who naturally likes to share the ball, likes to kick it up the sideline, get it off the glass and go. And I think, we've put a team around him that he can really elevate the scorers and the athletes that we have because of his unselfishness. He's a guy who, if he scores 6 points and we win, he's extremely happy. And he's a dude, if he has to score 20, he'll do it. And we're just excited to see him take another big step forward and hopefully get the respect he deserves in the conference and also in the country.
Quinn, as we said at the start of this interview, you've kind of been a fixture here for many years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Multnomah Lion basketball is a really important part of your life. Talk about what this basketball program means to you.
Yeah, for sure. When we first got all these guys together, I realized looking across the room that I've been here the longest, including, Coach Teo, Tyrese, and Nealand. This will be my 7th season now, if you include my years as a player. I'm originally from Chicago and came out here to the Northwest and really found a second home. Being out here, I have a lot of really close friends from our program. And I've been through the ups and downs of the program of losing a lot of games and also winning a lot of games and really starting to build the culture here. And I think, my experience going through the ups and downs, I have a lot of respect for the program and where we're headed. But more than just winning basketball games, this is a second home for me.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to, take the next step for sure.
Well, as I told Coach Teo, I really appreciate you guys inviting me out for your media day and you for taking a few minutes to sit down with me. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's Quinn Curry. He's the lead assistant here at Multnomah Lion basketball.
Thank you very much to Multnomah University head coach Teo Jam and assistant Quinn Curry for all their assistants over there at Multnomah University. Really enjoyed spending some time over there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAI school because NAI basketball is the best entertainment value in America.